What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. First off top, I'd like to give some well wishes to Luton captain Tom Lockyer, and I hope he said his name correctly. Lee was helping me train to say his name right before the podcast. He's already having a rough week. You don't need me adding to that. Uh, so, we hope you get better, man, and thank God you're alive, especially for the holiday season, and your family. Uh, what's going on at Man City? I watched the game this weekend. They dropped points at home to Crystal Palace, who's been their bogey team. But I don't think Man City have really won a game in a minute, or they haven't won many of their Premier League games in their last five. So should their fans be worried? And Everton, Sean Dyche and his team has won 4 games in a row, and they'd be almost as high as United in the table if they hadn't had the 10-point deduction. We also want to talk about the Fulham game versus Newcastle. What the hell was Jimenez doing? I really messed that up more than I thought I'd mess up Lockyer. What is this thing I have? Oh, the Champions League draw, and why Real Madrid couldn't get PSV even though they drew against PSV. And what else? I want to talk about these two new referees that they're going to introduce over the holiday period. One's a woman, white woman, and black man. And I just want to stick my hand into the hiring of these two individuals and kind of like delve into the honesty of feminism based on on this. So we'll get into it. I promise I won't get you fired from your job or canceled from shows, but I just have some questions about feminism, and maybe it's not about feminism, it's about racism on the whole in society. Spurs won on Friday. Roy Keane versus Van Dijk. Who was right? Who was wrong? United's epic draw versus Liverpool. And yes, I said epic because we needed that. And that draw saved so much trauma and trouble for United. That's why it's bigger than even the 1 point. And would Poch have been fired if Chelsea had lost to Sheffield United at home? Shout out to Conor Gallagher. That's coming up. And what Villa should do, if not this next transfer window, the summer transfer window, to take themselves to the next level. All right. So we got our usual suspect, Lee Hudson, stand-up comic, Southampton fan, up late at night, just drove from shows, got a regular job in the morning, staying up to do the podcast at 1-something a.m. in the morning, and doing shows after his regular job, and the podcast. What's up, fam? Man, that made
I'm
me
good,
tired.
Yeah.
Lee has to come home and make tea before he jumps onto the podcast.
That's it. I need a little caffeine hit to keep me going. But no, it's all good. I enjoy doing it. It's yeah. I'd be bored if I wasn't busy.
I feel you. I'm bored when I'm busy. If I wasn't Jamaican and raised by Jamaican parents who work hard, I'd probably be lazy. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even enjoy not doing anything. I'd be worried that I'm not doing something. You know what I mean? Like, in a Jamaican household, you always got to be doing something. So you couldn't, when I'm enjoying doing nothing, there's a voice going, something's wrong here. There's something that needs to be done that you're not doing, which is probably true. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm the same. Got to keep moving. Got to keep doing something.
Yeah. So let's create this drama about Man City, since the 115 point the 115. What do you want to call it? The charges. It's not in court yet, and they've won the treble, and nobody wants to fire their coach. Let's create some drama. Like if you're a Man City fan and you're wondering what's going on with your team, you haven't been winning that many games lately, you've been dropping points. Should you be worried? As a Manchester United fan, yes, I want you to worry. It might be premature worry, and Pep might pull this shit together in 1 or 2 weeks, or just maybe over the Christmas games. But yeah, I want you to worry because this is really weird. Like you only at this point have 34 points. Only 34 points. And you're fourth. You know what I mean? So do you think City fans should worry, or are they going to get it together? Let me just add in the fact that City has to go and fight for the World Club Championship this week. So they have to go to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, play there, get tired, come back, be 1 game behind everybody, and then play the games that they have to play in the regular season. So that's why I would worry. Like I know Pep normally gets it together, and there was only one other time there's 2 times in 2020 and 2021 they had 35 points at this point, and so they had 1 point more, and at that time they were third and second, and then they came at the end of the league second and first. So it ain't a crazy deficit, but I feel like there's more contenders now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And there's more people that can win it. And I think you even said that last week. But let's make them worry. Let's make these Man City fans, you should be worried, y'all. It's over.
I mean, what City have got going on right now is like the football equivalent of first world problems. So I would kill for these problems. Like they're on 34 points right now. Do you know how many points Southampton got in the whole of last season in the Premier League?
Oh, shit.
25.
Damn.
We got 25 points the whole season. So if they're going like, boo-hoo, we're on 34 points in December, then fuck those guys. No, it's it's an interesting sort of run of games they've had. Like they scraped the win against Luton in the last round of fixtures, and then before that they had was it before that they had the draw with Tottenham? Oh no, they lost to Villa.
They had a draw with,
they lost to Villa, and then they drew with Tottenham, and then they drew with Liverpool before that. But they've been winning in the Champions League in between as well, so it's not been like a full run of dropping points. But Premier League wise, yeah, they've dropped more now than they would have wanted to drop. And we've joked about them wanting to, make the job harder for themselves because they're bored. But I mean, this is definitely, I think, more points than they would have wanted to drop. Because they're a full 5 points behind Arsenal, which, I mean, how many? Do you know how many points they were at the biggest gap between Arsenal and City last year?
I think it was more. There's like a 7 point at one time last year.
Yeah, I feel like it was big. So yeah, they can reel them in if they put some form together. Although I think, we'll get into it more if we discuss the Arsenal game, but I think Arsenal were made of slightly stronger stuff this year. I think. I don't know that yet, because you don't know that until we hit like March time, April time, when they started to crumble last year. I think they'll survive better, but yeah, there wasn't a Liverpool in the mix last year. Like we said, there wasn't potentially a Villa in the mix. I don't know how long Villa are going to stay in that group, but they ain't going away right now. So, I think City, they're giving themselves a little bit of a job, but it's not. I think 5 points is still. I wouldn't panic at 5 points. Right. I wouldn't be happy that it's 5 points, but I wouldn't panic that it's 5 points if I was a City fan.
City fans, I want you to panic. And because this is the only time we're going to get you to panic. By the end of the season, you won't be panicking. So let's panic now. You know what I'm saying? Panic when you're supposed to panic. And the time is now when you're 5 points behind Arsenal. And Arsenal's going to be tougher to overtake this year than they were last year, for sure. But, Pep also will have some players coming back. Like he played the last few games without Haaland and Kusek. What's his CDM? What's Man City's? Rodri was out a few games of those, and some of those dropped points from earlier on in the season, but he's back now. So there's no De Bruyne, there's no and no Haaland right now, and I feel like Pep ain't panicking because he feels like he'll use this situation. Plus, you got those guys coming back, but I feel like Man City will be all right, unfortunately. But we'll see. They could get edged out by Liverpool.
They got a chance to go win a trophy this week still, though. One that they've not won in their history before.
The World Club Championship.
Club World Cup, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they play Euro Red Diamonds from Japan tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then the winner plays Fluminense from Brazil, who beat Al Ahly from Egypt, the African champions. So the South American champions beat the African champions today, which is normally the way it goes. It normally ends up being the South American champs versus the European champs in the final. But we'll see if the Saudi Arabian clubs can make an impact in that in the future. This year they didn't. Al Ahly from Egypt knocked out Al Ittihad with Benzema and Kante and Fabinho. So and then they got knocked out by the Brazilians. So South America versus Europe is still the biggest continental clash right now.
That World Club Championship did get more interesting with the addition of those players from those European teams to those Saudi League teams. So next year it'll probably be off the chain, because those Saudi teams won't get knocked out.
They'll go by even more. I'm glad they didn't do well this year, though, in a way. I'm kind of glad to see it. I think it would have been upsetting if they'd have just strolled all the way through. Like, I think it's good for the world game that they got knocked out by the African champs. Like, that made me happy.
I like that. I'm all for that. We were talking about so Fulham versus Newcastle. And first of all, Bruno Guimaraes had an amazing game. No. Newcastle played. Who did they play? Was it Wolves?
They played Fulham.
They played Fulham. All right, yeah.
You're right.
Because Fulham just won 2 games in a row, 5-0.
Yeah.
And then so then this game, but I was rooting for Bruno Guimaraes because he hasn't been the same since his head injury. And in over the last few games of this season, he looks like he's coming back. And he's a player that Fulham needs because they sold. Is it Mitrovic or Petrovic? Why am I blanking on names?
Mitrovic, yeah.
Mitrovic. So after the game, Fulham's coach was like, that wasn't a red. And let me tell you something. Not only was that a red, you can't headbutt somebody with your ass. You know what I'm saying? The ref should have pulled a stop sign out of his pocket. That was stop sign red. That was a yellow, the orange card that hasn't been invented yet, and a red. That was the card should have been the color of blood. There's no way that ain't a red. Like that is a ridiculous. The color should have been the card should have been the color of the top of your cup. The red stripes on your Southampton jersey hanging on a wall behind you. It should have been this color. You should have pulled out this thermos. That's what the ref should have pulled out. Like, what do you mean that shouldn't have been a red? I like Jimenez, but that is a straight red. And the fact that they had to go to the monitor to look at that.
Yeah.
If you see that on the monitor, you're giving 2 reds.
The crazy thing is that could have even been a worse challenge as well. Like he managed to pull his leg back and turn his ass into him to save him. That was him saving him, and he still wiped him out like big time. So, you know, credit to Jimenez for recognizing that he was in the air and out of control, but controlled enough to pull that leg back and turn sort of sideways. But yeah, I mean, when you jump and fly at someone with your ass and completely knock them off the ground, you're out of control. That's reckless. That's a red. That's how that works. There is no argument for that. And like I say, it's just he's lucky that he didn't smash him harder, because that would have, he might have even got a longer ban if he hadn't sort of managed to turn it around and pull out. So, justified red. And I think Newcastle needed that result as well, because Eddie Howe was getting a little bit of pressure put on him. And I think with the Saudi ownership, you know, every time Newcastle have a little rocky spell, there's going to be speculation, especially when, you know, off the back of getting knocked out of Europe as well. You know, he kind of needed that result. And yeah, Fulham, like you say, 2-5-0 before this game, they could stand to lose this one. So it's not going to cause them any real harm in the long term. They look more than solid enough this season. I don't think they're going to get dragged down into any sort of battle. They should be fairly comfortable in that lower mid table kind of region that they're sort of dwelling in right now. So they'll be fine.
Yeah, you can't hit somebody with a flying, spinning ass kick. It's not in the rules of football. I've not even seen that in a Saturday morning kung fu movie that we used to watch. Like if they'd have dreamt of that, they would have definitely used that. Speaking of Newcastle, there's something you said that sparked something, but now it has completely slipped my mind, as everything is usually.
Eddie Howe pressure?
Or? Oh yes, this is so the Eddie Howe pressure. So I have an idea of what Villa should do at the end of the season, and I think this is the same thing that Newcastle should do. And I feel like both teams, because I think Eddie Howe's a good coach. And the only thing that could prove to me that he's not a good coach is if Newcastle does these 2 things or does this one thing twice, and then he can't handle it. So, you know, he's the guy who came in to be the bridge between the money coming into the club first and who eventually is going to be that high-profile coach. But to prevent that high-profile coach from coming in and to win something before that, I feel like in the summer window that Newcastle should buy 2 name players. Like just spend the money on 2 big names, right? So that when these 2 names go into the team, they bring the level of the players up who are there to this next level that you can only get to by playing with people of that experience and that brand of name, as opposed to like buying the way they're buying now. The same thing goes for Villa. Like Villa buys players and they're good and they improve them to like a certain level, but there's another level after that you need to get to like actually win some real shit. So Villa also should buy some 2 like players with a name. And the thing about Newcastle doing this is like everybody's saying, as a coach, you have to be able to coach big names. And this is where Eddie Howe can prove that he can coach big names and that big names will listen to him. And then if they don't, that's when you get the high profile coach, because you might have the guy already that could win for you, but you have to test them again by buying 2 high profile players to add to the squad to bring the level up and to see if he can win with them. And if he can't win with them, then you'll be like, all right, Eddie, this is not your level. Let's get the new coach that with the name. Because I hear Mourinho's name is going around and all that stuff, but I would buy 2 players first before I give somebody like that the job.
Yeah, I don't think Mourinho's style would necessarily work there. I think it's maybe just a vanity name for the board. But I don't think he'd be the best fit there.
Me neither. Me neither. Meanwhile, Newcastle has more injuries. Like Shaw got injured and Joe Linton. So we'll also see. And Shaw looks like he's going to be out for a minute. That was a hamstring. And Joe Linton just went down. So they're getting more injuries. So we'll see what happens. And that's the thing. It's like people are not taking injuries into account when they talk about firing a coach. They're just looking at results. It's like, you always look and see if the coach lost the locker room, but nobody cares if the coach has nobody in the locker room to bring on the field and the results are bad. So it's a weird thing. Speaking of Newcastle, which leads into Manchester United, I don't know if you saw both games, but who was the better young player this weekend? Was it Lewis Miley or Kobe Mainoo for United versus Liverpool?
I mean, Miley had a great game for Newcastle. He looks a real talent. I like his sort of craft around the box, and yeah, great for him to score his first goal. But I don't think Fulham were really at the races. He was playing against 10 men as well, whereas I think Kobe Mainoo, he does a slightly different job for the team than Miley, and he was going out into the bear pit atmosphere of a derby game between Liverpool and Man United, with United out of form, Liverpool at home with their new menacing midfield that had been breezing through teams. So I think for him to hold his own in that environment is a sort of bigger sort of test than Lewis Miley faced at Fulham for this week. But I mean, Lewis Miley, like I say, great player, and he's done well in some really big games already, in Europe and in the Premier League for Newcastle. But this week, yeah, I would go with Kobe Mainoo, just because, I think he's been in and out of the team as well since he's come back from injury. But I think it's said, it speaks volumes that Ten Hag put him in from the start in this game, because I think if you guys got hammered in this game like you did last season at Anfield, when we were sat.
Don't remind me. I already know.
When we were sat in that very room with Martin watching it. I've never seen Martin happier than that day. It was strange.
Unfortunately, me either.
But I mean, yeah, like there was so much pressure on Ten Hag in this game. I think, I don't think he would have got fired if he had lost this game, even if he'd lost it badly, but it would have definitely made his life significantly more difficult if this game had gone badly. So I think him starting Kobe Mainoo was a real statement of faith in him. And hopefully he plays him more, because I think he's a real talent. So yeah, really, really pleasing to see him hold his own in that environment. And you had to ride your luck at times in this game a little bit, but I think you worked hard enough to get the draw. Liverpool dominated most of the game, but you stood firm.
All right, calm down. Calm down, Virgil van Dijk. I know he used to play for your team, but you don't have to use his words. Don't make me go Roy Keane on you, because that's the next
thing. But I mean, the numbers don't lie.
They don't.
But at the end of the day, the only number that really matters is the scoreboard, and the scoreboard says the game was a tie. So. You come away from an away trip to Anfield with a point. That's a good result right now. The form Liverpool have been in, the form you guys have been in, where you've been a bit inconsistent. So, I think I haven't spoken to a United fan yet that was disappointed with the point. And who knows, if Højlund had been a little bit sharper on that chance, you might have been able to smash and grab all three. But from those angles, Alisson's always got his angles right. He's that sort of keeper. Yeah. You need to be finishing at an elite level if you're going to beat him from that position. And Højlund did well, but he didn't quite in that moment have the finish to beat him. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you managed to have a big chance like that is a good response to obviously all the ones that Liverpool created. But like I say, game's a draw. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I don't even want to talk about the game itself. I want to talk about the impact of the result of the game, because that's the bigger thing to me. And everybody who United tied and they're excited about 1 point, don't try to point shame us. You've seen the form and the turmoil the club is in. Don't try to draw shame us. You can't draw shame me. That was a fantastic fucking draw. 0-0, Manchester United, after recent results at Anfield, like the fear going into that game was real. You know what I mean? And for us to, I don't care if Liverpool had the ball 70% of the time, just as long as one of those 70%, we weren't taking it out the back of the net. That's all I'm concerned about. So, like, a point is a point at Anfield. It's a big turnaround from the 7-0 of last season. And then it takes away the pressure that would have been heaped on Ten Hag, especially going into the Christmas game schedule. Like, he can coach the team, alleviated of all that, and then the way we played as a team, and because we had to, that energy hopefully will permeate and just start to swell in us and help us keep going. And so I'll take it, man, especially after we just lost we lost on the weekend, last weekend, to Bournemouth, where we had the same stats as Liverpool possession-wise, but lost that game to Bournemouth. So I'd rather take Bournemouth stats from last week and a point this week than our stats last week and no points this week. You know what I'm saying? And then we lost to Bayern and they got knocked out the Champions League. So I'll take this, and because Ten Hag definitely was set up the way to like really get hammered on TalkSport this week. And I feel like even successful Man United teams didn't go to, even Gary Neville was like, it took him so long to get comfortable at Anfield playing there. You know what I mean? So yeah. Why am I gonna like not be? I think the problem with football is people are like, what's next? Instead of enjoying the moment. And I want to enjoy this 0-0. And I know to the people who had no stakes in the game, this was a crappy game. It was one of our best games this season to me, just because of how everybody cooperated with each other. Johnny Evans, 135 years old. He couldn't even get beat in a foot race. Like, they couldn't beat him in a foot race. Like, some of the fastest players, I saw him get to them and stop them. Varane balled out, Shaw balled out, and Kobe Mainoo. Like, I'm happy to see him in that atmosphere thrive and play really good. Like, he set up a really good chance for Garnacho. You know what I mean? And I don't know what happened, but Trent Alexander caught up with him. Excuse me. And, we didn't get that shot off the way we wanted. But, yeah, man, we take that point. We'll take that point all day after the week we had. So I'm happy about it. And then, sometimes when you look at a team, who you're playing, you think of the name Liverpool at Anfield, and we triggered because of what happened to us the last time there. But when I look at their midfield, right, Szoboszlai, Endo, Gravenberch, the players they started, I was like, you know what? That midfield shouldn't beat us at Anfield, because those players are new to the Premier League. They're doing great in the Premier League as, a part of Liverpool's new midfield, but they don't have, like, we should have been less scared. I didn't know who Liverpool was going to start. And I think they have some injuries and some cards, so certain people couldn't play. But Szoboszlai, good player, Endo, good player, Gravenberch, but they're not like elite Liverpool standard players that should be able to beat even Amrabat, who's new at the league, Mainoo, who's English, so he's been around the league, and McTominay, who's been in the league for a minute. We should be able to stand up to them. And I'm also, everybody was hurt last week when Bruno got the card that prevented him from playing in this game. But the way we set up our team with McTominay and Amrabat and Menu. I've been dying to see Amrabat and Menu, or Amrabat and Casemiro, or Casemiro and Menu. Just two. I just been dying for United to play two holding midfielders, and because of that yellow card last week that Bruno received, Ten Hag was forced to play what I've been dying to see, and it works. Like, we've been attacking a lot of teams and not scoring and being open and giving them chances and losing. So let's defend and take our chances when we can. And because the way Anthony just gives away the ball, like he's a car dealer in Vegas, and these are like people sitting around, the other teams are people sitting around the table waiting for him to hit them, is ridiculous. He does play good defensively, though. He always runs back, but you have to make up for giving away the ball. You have to defend that ball you just gave away. But yeah, I'm happy with the point.
Nice.
Let me see. Let's get into some possible racism. You know what I'm saying? This is some, and it's not like usual racism, but it's actually the most usual racism that goes on out there. So there's been a push recently, and I heard Joey Barton got into some trouble. He said some shit. So what did tell me the trouble Joey Barton's in?
He has said all manner of shit. He's been non-stop on Twitter, to the point where I'm like, oh, I think this guy might need some help. He's just been going off on a big
help
rant
when he was playing.
Yeah, he's been needed help for a long time. He's just been off on a big rant about the amount of like female pundits and stuff there is on the TV nowadays. And yeah, I mean, long story short, he's not happy about it. He doesn't like it. And he's been very, very vocal about that. Whereas I'm like, I don't really care. There's some god awful male pundits
100%
out there as well. And to be honest, I don't really watch much of the punditry anyway. I want to watch the game. I don't really. Like you said, I'm a busy guy. I turn up when the game starts and I watch that, or I watch the highlights back. I don't see that much punditry anyway. So, but I mean, even if I did, it wouldn't really bother me. I think it's just people don't like change. Is the main thing, and yeah, some people. I mean, he's done well because he's almost talked himself out of ever having a managerial job again, which is nice. Good for any of the lower league teams out there that he had been working for. You know, that might have been tempted to, other ones that might have been tempted to hire him. He's probably talked himself out of that now. But yeah, it's all just noise to me. That sort of stuff. I was like, you know, the world is going to be whichever way it's going to be. You know, things progress the way they progress. It doesn't bother me.
Well, here's my potential troublemaking statement, and it's nothing against women. This is about, so he's talking about pundits. I feel like the best pundit, male, female, whatever race, should get the job, right? And I also feel like, so they're gonna introduce a new black male ref and a new female ref, right? So I've seen white females sideline people, right? And I just feel like there should have been a black male ref sooner. And I feel like
we had one.
I know you had one. There was one, Rennie, right?
And then when he retired, there was none for ages.
Right. And I don't think they made an effort to get one until they made an effort to get women reffing in the game, and that's fucked up. That's the part that I'm saying. It's like men play the game, right? Of all colors. Like so many black players, there's black refs. This guy's been reffing for a while, but he doesn't get the job until she gets a job. And I think there's already a female ref, right? That refs Premier League games. So it's like
lineswoman. There's an assistant or assistant ref, yeah.
Yeah, there's been no assistant. There's not even assistant black males, and you know they could have been, but there's a special initiative now to find like females and minorities now, and that's fucked up. Like that means they prevented them before. And I guess we can applaud feminism for making them have to like say, hey, you can't exclude minorities now that are male from this thing. So we can applaud feminism for making like them cast a wider net on everybody. But I am a little pissed that it took feminism to get this black guy a job. And because it means how many of our black refs or sideline guys didn't before because of racism. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing. And I think I said it good enough to not get canceled. You know what I'm saying? Do I have a point, kind of? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most referees are middle-aged white men, but referees are the cops of football, and that's what middle-aged white men who make bad decisions do. They normally be cops. So
we're not going to give a black guy the power to be a cop.
But no, I mean, the standard of refereeing has been very scrutinized this season. So I think whatever people's views on it are, they should wait and see if they're good at their jobs. If they're good at their jobs, then fantastic, because they cannot do much worse than the collection of white guys that have been handling it for the last few years. Because no one's happy with them. I don't know a single person that's like, yeah, the referees have been doing a great job. So I think AI could do a better job on VAR than these crusty white dudes that have been doing it lately. So I'm excited to see some different faces out there, and I'm hoping they can get through at least their first couple of games, because what will happen, it'll be that thing where, like, if regular refs that have been doing it the last year, 2 year, 3 years, these white dudes, if they do it, if they make a mistake, it's just, oh, referees are shit. Whereas if the female ref makes a bad call, it'll be all female. Female shouldn't referee. So no, like, that's not the issue here. You're either a good referee or a bad referee. Don't attach a label to it when it's someone that isn't the normal sort of profile of a referee that you see. They're not representing all. Unfortunately, in some people's eyes, they will be representing all of their gender or race, but that shouldn't be the case. It's judge each person by their merit in these situations.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, to be honest. That being said, don't fuck up, black ref. Don't fuck up. Make all the right calls. Please, black ref, just don't fuck up. What you said was perfect, but listen, black ref, come on, man. Just make good calls. I don't care if it's against United. You got to make the right calls this weekend. Sorry, but you are the portal for all the other black refs' future in this game. So, all right, focus, my nigga. Focus, please, 100%. Same way with the white woman. Listen, get this shit right, or else they're gonna pin a case against all, and that's racism, and that's why you need elements of feminism to push things forward. I believe in like.
It will be funny though if the white woman asked to speak to one of the managers.
I want to speak to your manager, and gives him a card.
I hope her name's not Karen. I don't know what her name is, but I hope it's not Karen.
I know. I had the article. I should look it up. It's hilarious. I'd have to go back and look at it. So here's a question outside of that. Chelsea won this week and they beat Sheffield United. I think it was 2-0. And Connor, that was the kid, man. He balled. He had a good game. I think Sterling also had a good game. Wait a minute. Somebody is joining. Let me see who this is. So Sterling had a good game. It's Martin. Is he going to join with a shitty sound from last week? So what's up, man? You're even more sinister and in the dark than last week.
I know. It's darker.
That's
Of course, Martin joins us because Spurs won again.
Yeah,
it's a shame Forest didn't win because then we would have.
My family is coming for a few weeks, so that's kind of the last chance for me to join before I have to fully commit to my family for a couple of weeks.
Are you gonna buy a light for that room before they come?
Yeah, they bring it to me. I had just so many things that I had to do in the last couple of days that I wasn't like home much, and they're gonna fix it this week for sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad your family is coming so that you'll have light finally in your place. So next time when you come on the podcast after they bounce, we can actually see you. You know what I'm saying? We was just about to get into let me just introduce Martin, stand-up comic and actor. Just got a recent credit, but I don't know if I can announce it, so I won't.
Not yet,
he's killing the game, killing the acting game. He's going to see him a bunch of things, also in video games. The only thing he's not killing at his team is Spurs, but we'll get into that. But do you guys think Chelsea, if they had lost to Sheffield this weekend, if Pochettino would still have his job? Because that game was at Chelsea, right? Do you think he would still have his job?
I think two things you have to take into consideration. In a normal football club, no, it shouldn't matter. But because of the owner of Chelsea and what he's doing and his history of erratic behavior, I would say yes. I would say definitely yes. It's not a good season for Chelsea, and another one. And it's 2 years in a row now of misery, absolute misery, and they're not going anywhere. So yeah.
What do you think, Lee?
It's up in the air. I think he'll get fired eventually. I think so.
I mean, I don't know what would have happened if he lost this game. I think, it's hypothetical because he did win it. I think they're still massively underperforming, given obviously where they are in the table, what they've spent. You can argue that the side is still coming together, but with that money, you should be expecting better. Even as a building team, you should be expecting better results than that and more points on the board than that. And, they haven't necessarily played badly the whole time. They've had games where they've just not been clinical, but there's only so long you can get away with that excuse. And with, like I say, if you spend that amount of money and buy those sort of players, like you need to accept the level of pressure and expectation that comes with that. And I feel like they've fallen way below, what would have been expected, even of a fairly new squad of players being put together. So, I mean, I think Pochettino does deserve some time though, because I feel like, I don't know if any big manager at the moment, if they sack Poch, I don't know which elite level manager would touch that job right now. So I think it's a case of...
I know of one.
Who?
He's not elite anymore, but for Chelsea fans, he is.
Mourinho?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if he'd go back. I don't even know if Avram Grant would go back right now. I don't even know if Gus Hiddink would answer that SOS anymore.
I don't even know if Abramovich would want the team back.
How about Graham Potter?
I don't think Abramovich would want the team back if they tried to give it back to him right now, after what Bowley's done to it.
Yeah, be like, you bought that shit, sold a scene. That's...
and I've seen that he paid $600 million to some baseball player, right? In the other team he owns, he gave like a
$700 million or some shit.
$700 million contract. So yeah, he can afford firing Pochettino, I guess. That's my point.
Yeah, you know what Bowley did? Like he bought a brand new car and took it off-roading and drove it down a mountainous mountain with bumps, and you didn't put no metal under the undercarriage to protect the radiator and the engine and all that shit, and then you drove it through water, and then you left it in the sun to dry for 6 months and didn't wash it, and then you pull back up to the owner and it's like, hey man, something wrong with the car. Yeah, everything you did to it, bro. Everything you did to it. Another thing I want to talk about is We'll talk about Arsenal a little bit, but let's go to this Villa versus Brentford game. And I don't know if I want to talk about the game as this guy, Mopai. He's one of the king of the divers of all the leagues. And he's always starting trouble. He got Guendouzi kicked out of Arsenal. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't like diving. I don't care what team you play for. And there's times I felt sorry for him because at Everton, he got death threats for like not scoring in the beginning of the season. And it's like, all right, if you got a new chance at a different place, fine, but don't be the asshole that did the things that you did this weekend at Villa, like bumping into Martinez, who did dive himself after he got bumped, but that was a solid bump. But when Martinez walked back by him and just tapped him with a finger, he went down. And it's like, first of all, if they give cards for diving during the flow of the game, they should give cards for Mopai acting like that. Like, for that should be a card. How is that not a card? You know what I mean? And he should have been off the pitch. So I don't like that shit. So I just like, and he always is diving and doing divisive stuff. Instead of like using your skill, he's trying to like con a ref on a constant basis to get a call. Instead of, hey man, score a goal. How about you do that? Even Nunez this weekend against United, there was one play where he's trying to get a penalty. So instead of chasing the ball, which he could have gotten, tapped it in the net against us, and Liverpool would have went up one, he was too busy trying to get a penalty. And then the ball went out and it became a corner. But I'm not a fan of that shit. I don't know if you guys saw the Mopai incident with Martinez.
Oh, yeah.
And then Camara eventually got a card for like, choke pushing somebody. But it caused a lot of stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a bit pathetic, really, the whole thing. It's Martinez is a good wind-up guy. Like, he knows what he's doing. I think he needed to calm down a little bit, but Mopai was the one that put it over the edge with his behavior. So, it's also unnecessary as well. Like, all of it is just so unnecessary. So I can kind of understand some of the...
Sorry, why do these guys act like it's like they're playing in a different era? There's cameras, y'all. There's nothing you could do that they can't just look at on the monitor. So why do players play like there's no cameras?
I don't know. But then also they do like everyone runs around and crowds around and starts like shoving and stuff. But it's like, no, like if you were really that angry, you would swing. It's all for show. It's all like bravado and posturing. Like, I'm like, no, I want to see someone like if you want to fight. Let's see it done properly. Because this is pathetic. Either show some emotional restraint and just let's not have these situations, or if you're going to rumble properly, I want to see some haymakers. I want to see
you're going to see some red cards.
No, put in like the hockey rule. Just let them fight for a little bit. Just let them have the scrap and then shake hands afterwards. But that would be more honourable than this shit where people just shove each other and sort of, act like the big tough guy. And none of them are going to do shit.
Some of them look like they do want to hit, but they just know. You could see. I'll get sick. Yeah. So some of them
you're getting banned for the rest of the season if you do. But
yeah,
I mean, I would ban Mopai for the rest of the season for what he did, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, I mean, there are already tensions in this game because of the Watkins incident. But that was him. Because apparently most Brentford fans, because he's an ex-Brentford player, most Brentford fans treated him with respect and clapped him. But then apparently there was one guy behind the goal that was just giving him abuse all game. And that's when he scored, he just ran into the net and just pointed at the guy like, yeah, that's for you. And then, the Brentford players seemed to think he was inciting something. It's like, no, if some dickhead in the crowd has been abusing him all game, he should be able to do that. Fans give it. Fans never want it back. It's it's like if you're big enough to shout shit at a player for 90 minutes, if he scores and then gives you a gesture, you should have to be, take it on the chin. You can't just shower abuse on someone and expect them to not do anything back. So yeah, I like that, if anything.
Yeah. And shout out to Ollie Watkins in his interview after the game. Like, he clearly stated what happened, because some of the Brentford fans started booing him after he scored because they thought he was over celebrating, but he was really directing it at that one fan who he said some abusive things to him. And when the interviewer at the end of the game asked him, was it like racial abuse? He said, no, it was not that. He was being an asshole. And if you asked him if I would do the same thing to that person again, yes. So he was clean, clear.
He said stuff about his family though and things. He was saying,
that's why you don't invite your strange dad to games, because they'll try to, undermine your process, you thriving in life. Martin, what do you feel about Arsenal being at the top of the table right now?
I think they could be potentially the favorites to win it at this point, because the City, they have problems. It seems like City are at the end of a cycle, and it could be an off season for them where they need to retool and rebuild. And they'll still be very good. They'll still be down the wire candidates to win it, and they might turn it up in the second part of the season and win it. But I think it's a big chance for Arsenal. I think they weren't ready last year because they were not mentioned as favorites. They were kind of a surprise team, which we could have been if we didn't get all these injuries and cards in the Chelsea game. We could have been that team this year, but we're not. Although I'm still pretty happy where we at. But I think Arsenal, they started this season with a mission. Let's not forget, because people were flipping on Arsenal like it's not a big team anymore. They spend a lot of money. They spend more money than anybody else, really, in the last 2-3 years. They spent tons of money on Rice. They spent a lot of money on some other players. So they know what they're doing. They want to win. They want to win. They haven't won in a long time. They haven't won since Wenger. They haven't won since like mid-Wenger, early to mid-Wenger. So it's past due. I think it's a pretty long break for them between winning titles. It's a very good franchise, and I say it as a Tottenham fan. Arsenal franchise is a winning franchise. They won a lot of trophies, and it's been a long, long, long break. So I think that's the shot for them. That's the shot for them. Liverpool are still very strong, and they should have beat United. They had 34 shots on goal. But Arsenal, I would say...
Not on goal. They had 34 shots.
34 shots total. Yeah, 34 shots.
36 shots. Not on goal, just shots. 8 shots on goal.
8 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Still a lot of shots.
Yeah, they weren't all good shots. There were a lot of snatches. Like the Trent Alexander-Arnold one was probably the closest, like legit shot that was set up by Salah. But And what do you think about your win versus Forest this weekend?
Incredible. I mean, we're so undermanned. I mean, we scrap the lineup together every week, and now we will be without Bissouma because he got red card. So every win, every point like we had against City, it's a win. What happened in the game against Chelsea unfortunately altered our season because our best center back and our best midfielder are not playing. Richarlison found his form. He scored 3 goals in 2 games, and I'm very happy because if he can start, he's a very streaky guy. So if once he finds it, it's all confidence based. There are players like that in every sport, even in basketball, where they go on a streak. It's a streak. Like he can score now in 5-6 games in a row, and then he'll not score in 7 or 10 in a row. It's just that type of a player. So I'm kind of encouraged that he actually started scoring. So maybe he'll continue scoring through Christmas, and our schedule is not too bad. We can actually get some points, and once we are close to top 4 when Madison and Van der Veen come back, we have a chance. I still take top 6. Top 6 will be good. Is top 4 out of question? Not necessarily. The other teams are struggling. The top 3 probably is, but the 4th spot may, it's with the decent luck, it's possible. And if we buy center back on January 1st, another center back, which we have to, and we will, then I think we'll be in a pretty good position. I like what
even with Davis playing the way he is.
Who?
even with Davis playing the way he is?
Well, listen, it's not gonna last forever either. And a couple of weeks ago, we had 4 fullbacks playing as our entire formation. We didn't have a single center back playing, so we need a center back for sure.
Right. So you still believe, as you should, in your team. Like, so football is going to be coming fast and thick. This is actually everybody Merry Christmas episode, or one of the Merry Christmas episodes, because there's football. Today's Monday. We're recording this, and then there's going to be football this weekend, which is what the games start on Thursday.
One game I think is Thursday. Let's have a look. So Thursday is Palace versus Brighton, which is a derby game for some reason.
Disrespectful.
Well, it's a weird one. Like, there's no real reason for it to be a derby, but it is. They don't like each other. There was even a game. They played each other in the playoffs in the Championship a few years ago, and I don't know if you remember. There was an ex Chelsea. I think he might play for Spurs as well. Guy in charge for Brighton, Gus Poyet, Uruguayan midfielder. Yeah. He was in charge of Brighton, and Palace were going to play Brighton in the playoffs in the Championship at Brighton. And somebody from Brighton, I don't know if it was a staff member, a player, somebody from Brighton went into the Crystal Palace dressing room before Crystal Palace arrived at the stadium and did a big turd right in the middle of the floor. And then Palace found it when they turned up. And Gus Poyet managed to get himself fired after the game by sending a really angry email to all staff at the club in some crazy rant, because they lost the game in the end, I believe, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it was like the beginning of the end for Gus Poyet. They got knocked out of the playoffs. Palace went up to the Premier League that year, I think. And I think Ian Holloway was their manager, who was a real character. But yeah, I think that's all the pieces of the story I remember. But yeah, I know someone took a shit in the dressing room in that game. So, but they already didn't like each other then. It was already a derby. But they're sort of Brighton are on the south coast, Palace are in London. I don't know why they hate each other, but they do. It's. I
mean, a turd in the locker room is.
Oh yeah.
In petty football terms, that's a declaration of war. That's the Boston Tea Party in football for a revolution. You know what I mean? So it's on and popping after that.
Yeah, it's the Brighton Poo Party. That's what that was.
Basically.
But yeah, that's Thursday. Villa Sheffield United is Friday. United.
By the way, I remember I tell this story. I probably shouldn't. It's almost as disgusting story as you just said, and probably or maybe even more. When I was a young writer in like the late '90s, one of the Polish writers got drunk. He made a turd into a hat, and he was going during the press conference after the national team game and showing it to everybody. What completely shocked.
Yeah, that's he really never wanted to wear that hat again, huh?
So that was my introduction to the sports writing when I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Very delightful. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of games, including United, West Ham, and Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs, Everton. They're all on Saturday, and then there's one game on Sunday, Christmas Eve, which is Wolves, Chelsea, at Wolves. So not an easy one for Chelsea there. So Christmas Eve,
Liverpool, Arsenal. That's the big one.
That's Saturday evening, 23rd.
Yeah.
And then obviously no games Christmas Day, but then there are 5 games on Boxing Day on the 26th, 3 games on the 27th, 2 on the 28th, nothing on the 29th, but then the 30th, 31st, and the 1st and the 2nd are all games. And then there's nothing after that until from the 2nd until the 13th. There's like a mini, that's like an 11-day winter break that we're getting for the first time this season.
So are there any, like, I know Bundesliga just played their last game for the year.
They stopped for like a month or so out there.
So the Premier League takes a break, but does like the FA Cup and those other things take a break, or it's all off?
No, FA Cup comes in. There's an 11-day break for the Premier League.
It's a fake break.
Yeah.
But there never was a break, right? The other leagues, especially in the continental Europe, where it gets really, really cold, they take a break. It used to be a much longer break. I remember, going to games as a kid in Poland. They would end in like the half of November, and the season wouldn't start until March.
Damn.
Yeah, but the same in Bundesliga. Bundesliga was played till maybe like December 5th, and then would start at the end of February. It used to be like that.
Yeah,
league that believes in family.
Yeah. That's why English teams was always like odd for everybody. Now this is football everywhere, but it used to be odd that England played through the Christmas, played through the year. It was the only league playing. The league, I remember, in English league. Those were the only games that were happening at that time. But now almost everything.
That's my theory for why the Premier League is the biggest league in the world. Those Christmas games when everybody takes off and there's nothing else to watch. By the time Christmas is over, like, you want to see more Premier League, because that's what, if you're an addict, a football addict in anywhere in the country or in the world, like, you just got like Premier League shoved down your veins for 2 to 3 weeks when everybody was off. And you're like, what's going to happen in the rest of this crazy shit? So then so I think that break that everybody took, that the Premier League didn't take, has like propelled this league like to where it's at now,
Yeah, like I say, when I say there's a break at the start of January, it means there's no midweek games. There's the FA Cup in the weekend in between, and then it's back up again, but nothing midweek.
Yeah, I'll enjoy that break too, because it's tough to keep up. There's a on Boxing Day, United got Villa, and Villa is third in the table now. So it's like thank God it's at United, but that's going to be a rough one for us. Yeah. We didn't even have luck with Villa when Steven Gerrard was their coach. We had a tough time with Villa. But what are you saying about this game, Martin?
Well, let's not forget one thing that we haven't mentioned. It's a kind of a revenge season for Emery. Emery has some ghosts from the past regarding Premier League, right? He's got some major ghosts, and if he will be able to do what he was trying to do with Villa, that he wasn't able to do with a much bigger team, that will be pretty impressive. I mean, he won trophies with Sevilla. He was much better, arguably, with Sevilla than with PSG, for example. But so maybe that's the size of the club, like right below those like biggest clubs, that he can take them to the next level. That's maybe his thing. But I'm very impressed with Villa, that they won this. I think they won the second highest number of games in England for the year 2023.
Right.
After City, right?
After City. Which is like somebody sent. Go ahead. Somebody sent me that stat.
Of consistency. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. Somebody sent me that stat. So Man City's at the top. They won 27 games, and Aston Villa has won 25, and United is in the top, and they've won 22. 5 games less than the treble champions, Man City. All season, every reporter has been calling for the firing of Ten Hag. So it's like, what are we really looking at here? When there's definitely something bizarre going on, when like nobody wants any of those coaches in that top thing fired. But when it comes to United, like the drama that people try to create, or the crisis that they try to create to get an effect, like he's won 22 games in a calendar year. The calendar year ain't even over.
Yeah, but I'll tell you why, and it
including you, Martin. Why would you want somebody?
And I'll tell you why. It's because that's the point I'm making about Villa, about how consistent they are and how dependable they are under Emery. I think the problem with United under Ten Hag is just too much chaos. You could be 3 different teams in 3 different games, so it doesn't feel like he's built something. It feels like he's going through the motions. And that's my problem with him, and that it doesn't feel like it's a project that is going somewhere. When Klopp wasn't winning for the first 3 years with Liverpool, but you could tell that they're building something, that they are moving step by step, and they have their style. I just don't see a certain style of playing, certain dynamic with United. It's just too inconsistent. You have very good games, but then you have a very bad game, and then you play these players, and then you play some other players. It's just hard for me to put to like call what it is, what he's trying to do at United. What kind of, where Emery, he put his kind of philosophy. And Angie is doing the same with Tottenham. He's putting his philosophy. Arteta put his philosophy on Arsenal. Also took a little bit of time for him to start winning. His first 2 seasons weren't that great, but with Ten Hag,
first
the
2
problem
seasons.
that I don't see. Yeah, I don't
first
see
2 seasons.
That he's trying to build a certain way of playing, a style that will make me change my mind.
All right, we'll see. I'm not even gonna rebut. What do you think your chances are against Everton on before Christmas? Like, Everton's just won 4 in a row. Are you ain't afraid of that?
No,
Everton
because of Richarlison played for Everton, and he's on form. I think he'll try to prove a point.
Prove a point that what? They loved him. They had to sell him to. And what about also, Lee? I put in the group like those Everton buses. On the buses that brings the players to the game, it says the Premier League is corrupt on the light thing. Like, I guess they can't be punished any more than they've been punished, but is this advisable for a team that was just docked 10 points and that's trying to appeal to like have that shit on their bus? Like, whose call is that?
I mean, they can feel aggrieved on it. I think they won't probably rest until City get punished. That'll be what makes them go, okay, you're being fair then. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really matters at this point. I think they can feel okay about it because of obviously how well they've done, but that probably makes it feel a little bit more harsh just because they know they could be almost pushing for top half now if they didn't have that. But I mean, if they need that bitterness to fuel them, if they need that to keep them in that mindset, then put whatever they want on the buses. It's that siege mentality. It's not doing them any harm right now. So if it's working, keep doing it. Keep being bitter.
I feel like it's all good fun, but to say the Premier League is corrupt it's a huge ass statement. And I get the siege mentality. And it's like, you did break the rules. They did give you some type of leniency. And even with the leniency, you still ended up like spending over what you're supposed to spend. So, and then now you just pretend that you only spend over a little bit, but that's after the leniency. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. Do what you got to do. But to say the organization, the league that you're in is corrupt, it's huge. But I get it. Like, they probably won't be happy until City gets punished, and then they'll be like, all right, cool. What that Southampton do?
We won 4-0 this week. We were only 1-0 up, which is what we normally do. We go 1-0 up in a lot of games, and then we play slowly and then concede. But this time they had a red card at 1-0. We scored a goal, then they had a red card, and then we won 4-0. 2 of those goals came super late in injury time, but I'll take them. We missed a penalty as well. We won a penalty, and Charlie Alcaraz, the young Argentinian midfielder we've got, he tried the Panenka, but he chipped it over the bar. The keeper dived the wrong way, but he ended up chipping it over the bar, and then one of his teammates grabbed him by the neck and said, "Don't fucking do that again."
That's a red card.
So yeah, he made up for it though. He scored afterwards. He scored to make it 4-0. So it was all smiles at the end. But no, it was nice to see us win comfortably. I'm not used to that. I'm not used to us being in a game where I'm not nervous the whole way through, because that's normally what happens. So yeah, 4-0 win. I got like I say, I think I mentioned it on a previous one. I got my ticket for Boxing Day at home to Swansea. I'll be there for that game. I'm looking forward to that. We are 14 games unbeaten right now as well, which is for us that's huge. Leicester and Ipswich keep winning at the top, which is a little bit annoying. Leeds dropped some points this week. They only drew. So right now in the table, we are level with Leeds on points. We're both joint third. But then Ipswich are all like 10 points ahead of us still. And Leicester are 13 points ahead of us. So it's going to be hard to reel those two in. I'm resigned to playoffs, but hopefully we can keep this run going and just hope that someone slips up above us. But yeah, 14 unbeaten. I mean, I would say I can't complain. I do have some complaints based on some of the games we've drawn where we could have been more ruthless, and it would mean that we're more in touch with the top half, the top half, the top two of the table. But it is what it is. It's still good, so I'm happy enough.
Yeah, just hearing that many games undefeated is pretty impressive. Before we do the fantasy league, to find out where Martin is in the fantasy league, there's a question for both. Better. We'll see. All right, we'll get to it. So last week we were talking about Girona, and then like I disassociated as I do sometimes, but then you remembered in the chat to say that Girona is owned by the group that owns Man City. So let me ask you this. There was a thing earlier this season where they say, who does Ineos, who's taken over from 25% of Man United, owns a team in the French league? And if that team in the French league, Nice, finishes above Man United in our league, then they both can't be in Champions League. And then Nice will be in the Champions League, and United, no matter where they finish, if it's a lower place in the Premier League, then Nice finishes in the League One, then which is the French Bundesliga, basically, where one team just wins all the time. That means that United would be in the Champions League next year. Now, Girona is at the top of the league in Spain. They're owned by the same team. So, Man City, extra pressure. Does the same rules apply? Can they get knocked out of the Champions League by their own ownership group?
I'm not sure. It depends how it's structured in the back, because Leipzig and Salzburg both play in the Champions League this season, and they're both Red Bull.
What?
But I think it's because of the way it's structured in the background. Everyone knows that they're the same, owned by the same people, but the paperwork says otherwise. So it depends how smartly the City Football Group have structured that framework, and it would depend how smartly Ineos and Jim Radcliffe would structure the framework and the paperwork and the legalities between Nice and Man United. I mean, Nice are second behind PSG right now in Ligue 1. But I don't think there's any danger of United finishing in the Champions League this year, as much as I hate to say it.
No, that's why I'm not worried about it. But it's now the thing that was a threat for United is now a threat for City, possibly.
Yeah, it depends how. Depends. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of fully how the City Football Group, as they're called, functions. But yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look and see if anyone's talking about it.
Martin, you said so silly. So what's your feeling on this?
My feeling is that City are in trouble in general. I feel like they might have to retool if they feel like they're not winning the title. If they lose more points, if there's another injury to Haaland that keeps him away from playing, they might just give up and focus on winning Champions League again. I don't know, but it's too early to say. It's way too early to say. Obviously the whole story of Girona is one of the greatest stories in football. It's probably the best story. It almost feels like a Leicester type of a story, and the way they constructed the team, and they beat Barca at Nou Camp. This is how you build something special. And there's another team under the radar, which is the Bayer Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso, who will be the next big manager that everybody tries to get, because he was always very smart. He always a very smart player, and he won a lot of titles and a lot of trophies. And now he is ahead of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga with a team that is not even a fifth in terms of value, financial value of Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich is not losing a lot of points. And still Leverkusen is ahead of them. And Harry Kane is scoring more than 1 goal per game for Bayern Munich.
He's got 20 in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
He's got 20 goals in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, he might not win Bundesliga, exactly, Harry Kane. If Leverkusen keep going like they're going right now. But Xabi Alonso is doing a fantastic job there, fantastic job. And that's another story that is a little bit under the radar. And I think that could be the next manager for teams like Chelsea, Man U, PSG, and some other teams that are, at that Barcelona, that he might be the next one on the wish list of some of the major teams.
Yeah,
he's got ex-Southampton player Nathan Teller at Leverkusen as well. They signed him from us just before the window shut. He went there, but yeah, Girona won again this weekend. They won tonight. They played tonight 3-0.
Damn.
But according to the article that I'm just reading from the Spanish newspaper Mundo Deportivo, Girona and Man City can both play in the Champions League.
Oh, why? How? What's the loophole?
Looks like it's a 47% ownership that the City Group have. So it's not a full ownership of the club. And apparently they do have a UEFA license, but they just didn't qualify last season.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I remember from the time when I was the broadcaster for Bundesliga back in 2006 till 2008. And I think in Bundesliga, I don't know if they changed that rule, but in Bundesliga, nobody could own more than 49% of the club.
Yeah.
So technically, that's why
the fans get that extra share.
So
to make sure
that's why Red Bull can continue. That's why.
Right. So, all right. That's funny that a rule that the league set up actually protects like Leipzig, and helps them to compete. What's the deal with that fantasy league? How bad is Martin doing in fantasy league? Tell me something good. Tell me something good.
Mine had, he only got 45 points, which is an average week, but a lot of people have bad weeks because the big players didn't really do much this week. Son didn't really do anything. Salah didn't really do anything. Haaland was out. But Martin got enough points to leapfrog Neil. I had some players that scored. I had Salah got me a clean sheet. I had Watkins who scored a goal. I had Dubravka who got a clean sheet. But, Martin, he had Watkins, he had Gordon, he had Salah, he had White, he had Vicario. He had a good week. So Martin's in 16th, Neil's in 17th, I'm in 19th. We're all in the same part of the table.
Oh, shit. I'm glad you guys can finally meet up.
Yeah, we're all just meeting up in mediocrity. But the top team, he was joint top last week. There were 2 teams on the same points last week, but this week Joey Duda is out on his own by 10 points. He is.
What up, Joey? All right.
He is top of the league with 992. Ahmed Zekri is down on 982. So there's 10 points clearance between the two of them now.
Damn, how many points did Joey get this weekend?
Joey got 63, which is big. Martin got 45, like I said. I got 32. Neil got 30. So 65 is or 63. Sorry, from Joey's a decent haul. That's a decent amount of points. Just looking, it might be the most of anyone. Yeah, the most of anyone in the mini league.
Yeah, I didn't have a good week, but luckily I had my goalkeeper with clean sheet and some good points from clean sheets from my defenders. So that saved my week, because I think I had Son as a captain and he didn't do anything. So yeah. So goalkeeper saved me this week.
Your goalkeeper?
Vicario, and I had 2 guys from Arsenal in the defense, so they got points.
Yeah. He was smart. He picked some guys from Arsenal because he knows they're North London's best football team.
Right now they are. I don't deny it. Definitely they are. They are the best team in the league, period.
That should be illegal. to like use players from your rival in fantasy football.
I also have Saka. I have 3 of them. I would have more if I would have the whole defense Arsenal. They're playing very good defensively.
True. So yeah, I guess that's it. What are your Christmas plans, Martin?
My Christmas plans are my mom and dad are coming on Wednesday, and I have 5 auditions a day, and I'm trying to pass driving tests. It's been crazy. It's been insane, and yeah, I feel like I need a little bit of a break. But yeah, and I'll be filming also 27, 28. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit nuts. But looking forward to spending time with my family. I'll be catching up on highlights of games probably at night when they're when my mom and dad are asleep. I'll be catching up with games and ready to go the next day.
Oh, that's dope. What's your plans? What's your holiday plans?
I'm just gonna see some family down on the south coast near Southampton. So yeah, like I said, going to the game on Boxing Day as well down that way. So yeah, just chilling with family, but I got shows up until the 23rd. Nothing Christmas Eve, and then I'm back out doing shows on the 27th. Doing New Year's Eve, doing 3 shows New Year's Eve, doing the 28th and the 30th as well, and then a little break, and then back up again on the 3rd of January. So yeah, I'm not taking that much time off. Like I said at the start, I like to keep busy. So yeah, be trying to catch all the football that's going on around then as well. Like I say, as well as going to the Southampton game live on Boxing Day. So yeah, busy period in all senses coming up, socially, comedy wise, and football wise as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. How are you doing?
I'm gonna just hang out with a bunch of friends. We go see some lights. Like we went to the Naples Canal in Long Beach.
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram. That looked crazy.
It's crazy.
Very, very festive.
If you want some Polish food, if you want to come to some Polish food, my mom will be cooking. So feel invited.
to the meat house. I'm vegan, bro.
We do some other stuff too.
You're gonna make Ian some Christmas borscht.
Some Christmas borscht. But this one is with pierogi and and mushrooms and sauerkraut. Yeah, you can do that.
It just sounds like some sides. It doesn't sound like a full meal. I appreciate the offer, but I got some shit to get into. It should be fun. You know what I mean? I hope you pass the driving test.
I hope so too. Although my instructor today told me that I need more work, so we'll see.
Well, good luck. Listen to him. Everybody else, I hope you all have a great, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and whatever you celebrate. Like, have fun out there. Have a good time. I know it's tough for some people. We love you, and thank you for listening and watching. Like and subscribe. And yeah, man, it's going to be, like Lee was suggesting, by looking at the schedule, we are going to be inundated with football. Also, I guess an idea is like, I think in January, like I might start a writing job. So it's going to be tough to do it on Monday. So I might just try to do this podcast on Sunday. So I think might be even better for the podcast too, as far as posting it like closer to when the games actually happen. Like maybe I can post it that night. So I just want everybody listening to keep in mind that change might happen. Some podcast might happen even sooner if Lee and everybody involved can make it. But yeah, man, thank y'all. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you this weekend. And this weekend is going to be weird because Christmas is on Monday. So I don't know when we're going to do it. We'll figure it out. We figure it out. All right, y'all. 1